Hello, my name is Summer, and today I'll be taking you through topic D, online discourse. Online discourse is a digital commonplace where users can share and develop their opinions. Comment sections have been available since the early 2000s, becoming so common now we don't pause to consider them. Although a possibility for healthy debate, education, and encouragement, they can also be places of misinformation, insults, and unnecessary argument. This study is important because news stations are essential for public knowledge. We hear information every day, tell people, change how we think, and alter our behaviours, both consciously and subconsciously. The Australian Communications and Media Authority found 20% of Australians declared social media as their primary news source in 2023, increasing from 2022. It is important to assess how credibility can be undermined by negative comments, so accurate news is still being presented. Some stations have already disabled comments, and this study could provide further insight into how news stations can be moderating their comment sections for maximised efficiency and reception as their social media interaction increases. Within this topic, we'll be looking at the research question, does the tone of the first seen comments on a social media post affect perceptions of credibility and truth? This between subjects design is a true experiment with the following hypotheses. When the first three comments are negative, perceived credibility will decrease. When they are positive, perceived credibility will increase. Participants who have no access to the comments will report no difference in credibility. These terms are operationalized in the following ways. Negative, spreading misinformation, insulting the report or the reporter, or attacking credibility. Positive means providing more accurate information, sharing personal anecdotes, complementing the work of the report or the reporter. The independent variable is the tone of the first three comments, divided into levels based on tone. The first three comments are negative and critical. For example, is anyone actually believing this? The reporter doesn't know what he's talking about, or this has to be fake, guys, don't believe them, or this is just stupid. The second is that the first three comments are positive and accepting. For example, finally someone says it. It's great to have news on our side. Great job to the reporter on this one. Maybe there is some hope for our future. And the third is that comments are disabled and participants assess the post individually. Dependent variable is individual ratings on a Likert scale of credibility and truth of the post. 20 questions are asked, half on credibility and the other half on truth. For example, if you share this post with someone, how confident would you be that they perceive it as truthful? Ranging from 1, very unconfident, to 5, very confident. 30 first-year psychology students will self-nominate for extra credit through Sona. They will be randomly allocated into 3 groups of 10, one for each level of the independent hypothesis. All participants will be given the same news post, but will read different initial comments or no comments at all depending on their condition. All participants will read the post first without the comments and assess credibility and truth. Participants in the experimental group will read the first 3 comments, while the control group will write a 50-word reflection on the post. All participants will be tested again with the credibility and truth Likert scale questionnaire. This method is optimal for the research question because it addresses the most common comments left on news posts. Using a control condition and having participants assess the credibility before and after viewing comments or writing a reflection enables seeing whether the effect is present without the independent variable, the role of comment sections. Making each condition unique, such that all comments are positive, negative, or disabled, means the results can be found as a direct result of the conditions itself and not any nuance between them. Thus, the independent variable is manipulating the dependent variable, which is being measured. This design is somewhat low on inter-rater reliability, as measures of credibility and truth are subjective and possibly inconsistent. However, if the hypotheses are correct, the results will indicate a stronger correlation that enables sound inter-rater reliability. Likert scales are the best method of measuring subjective opinions such as credibility and truth, where physical devices such as scans cannot be used. Thus, the internal reliability is not exceptional, but sufficient for this experiment. Split half reliability is satisfactory as the pre- and post-test questions are identical, so it is guaranteed to test credibility and truth equally across times. Construct validity is sufficient as the terms used to describe types of comments, positive and negative, are defined and have examples provided. By only exposing participants to one level of the independent variable, we can be more confident that there are no confounding variables. Content validity is ensured as credibility and truth are measured across multiple items, all relating to the accurate assessment of these features in different ways. Internal validity is sufficient as the levels of the independent variable are isolated, meaning the results directly indicate their effect on the dependent variable. However, domain characteristics could detract from internal validity due to the simplistic design. This is minimized by asking questions obscurely and indirectly, but still receiving a relevant answer. This experiment could have more external validity if the participants were collected from a larger sample through random sampling, not just young university students from one campus. The results may be generalizable to other university students and some of the public, but not to other demographics. The sacrifice needs to be made for a more controlled experimental setting, but further experiments could replicate this in a different way to increase external validity.